Well, I imply, it's no longer like I went out looking for this sort of element, she mutters, shaking her head as she researched the starry void through the viewport of her rickety old ship, the Glorious Disruption. The rust-covered hulk creaks and groans, protesting against the unusual G-forces in their ultramodern high-pace breakout from a pursuing squadron of heavily armed bounty hunters. I become just a unique forces grunt, why realize? Signed up for adventure, glory, and all that crap. Did my time, got out, and now study me, caught in the center of a galactic slave trade. She glances over her shoulder on the holographic display, projecting a schematic of the slave delivery they have been monitoring for the beyond few weeks. Its smooth profile belies the horrors it contains. Lots upon thousands of beings, their lives decreased to not anything extra than commodities to be sold and bought on the open market. It's simply wrong, she says, her voice tough with determination. And I'm now not going to stand by way of and let it manifest anymore. With a very last burst of electricity, she sheds the pursuing ships and disappears into the depths of the asteroid belt. Her fingers dance nimbly throughout the control panel, navigating the treacherous maze of rock with the convenience of a person who has been doing this for far longer than she'd care to confess. The Glorious Disruption shudders as it collides with the in particular huge asteroid, sending the human and her ship careening off into the darkness. Now, she says, grinning maniacally, in which have been we? With renewed vigor, she hacks into the slave delivery's laptop machine, expertly disabling its computerized defenses and navigational controls. The massive ship starts off evolved to spin out of manipulate, careening wildly through the asteroid belt. Thousands of terrified slaves scream in confusion and panic as they are thrown approximately the cramped, unexpected environment. The human laughs maniacally as she watches the chaos spread on her show. Come on, you bastards, she says, addressing the imminent bounty hunters. Think you may hold up with me? The Glorious Disruption swoops in, matching the spin of the crippled shipping. The human fires a grappling hook at the delivery, effectively attaching it to her very own deliver. With a deafening groan, the two vessels turn out to be inseparable. She grins triumphantly as the pursuing ships skid to a halt, uncertain of a way to proceed. Now, she says, let's examine you capture me. With a deft maneuver, she detaches the slave shipping from her ship and sends it careening into the heart of a nearby sun. The explosion is visible from miles years away, and the shockwave knocks the closing bounty hunters mindless. As they spin helplessly through space, she methodically selections them off one at a time, making sure that they may not be a hazard to every person else ever again. With her latest victory in the back of her, the human maintains on her campaign against the galaxy's slave trade, her resolve handiest strengthening with each successive triumph. The galaxy trembles at the method of the human and her glorious disruption. The subsequent goal is a notorious slave castle on the outer rim of civilization. Its walls are impenetrable to traditional assaults, but the human has a plan. She infiltrates the citadel disguised as a slave, without problems mixing in with the opposite unfortunate souls. Once in her, she begins to sow the seeds of rise up, triumphing over the guards separately with her tales of getaway and freedom. On the eve of a primary slave public sale, the human and her newly recruited allies make their pass. They seize control of the fort, releasing the slaves and killing the remaining guards. The human hacks into the castle's laptop gadget, erasing all proof of their life and leaving the fort defenseless. As information of the rebellion spreads at some point of the galaxy, different slaves begin to rise up towards their oppressors. The human and her glorious disruption grow to be beacons of wish, inspiring endless others to take up palms in opposition to tyranny. With every victory, the human grows stronger, greater decided to see the stop of the slave trade once and for all. The galaxy trembles on the method of the human and her glorious disruption, for they bring about with them the winds of change. No longer will the harmless suffer in silence. No longer will the sturdy prey upon the susceptible. A new age is dawning, and it'll be written in the blood, sweat, and tears of folks who dare to fight for freedom. The subsequent goal is a slave-owning business enterprise's flagship, a behemoth of a ship bristling with weaponry and guarded by way of an elite strike pressure. The human infiltrates the vessel disguised as a renovation worker, her glorious disruption hidden in a close-by asteroid discipline. As the team goes about their obligations, she sabotages crucial structures, placing the ship on a collision direction with an uninhabited planet. As the Deliver's captain realizes the gravity of the state of affairs, he sounds the alarm, ordering the crew to desert Deliver. But it's too past due. The human detonates the glorious disruption, sending it careening into the flagship, engulfing it in a dazzling flash of light. The shockwave ripples through the asteroid discipline, obliterating the remains of the Deliver and scattering the slave-proudly owning company's fleet. With each victory, the human's legend grows, her have an impact on spreading farther and wider. Word of her deeds reaches the ears of other freedom-warring parties, and they start to be part of her motive. Together, they strike at the heart of the slave alternate, liberating worlds and releasing millions from their unjust bonds. The cease of the slave trade is nigh, and the galaxy will never be the same. For the human and her glorious disruption have proven that even one voice, speak me truth to electricity, can bring about the most profound of adjustments. And so, the human maintains on her crusade, her eyes constant at the horizon, her coronary heart filled with wish and determination. The future is bright, and it belongs to the free. With every new recruit, their ranks swell with power and braveness. The crew of the glorious disruption, once slaves themselves, now combat for the liberty of others with a passion born of experience. They are a testament to the strength of redemption, of the human spirit's capacity to upward push above even the most unattainable of cruelties. Their adventure takes them to a global wherein the very air they breathe is tainted via the struggling of folks that hard work under its oppressive sky. The human, ever the strategist, knows that to strike at the heart of this injustice, they need to first undermine the system that supports it. So, she infiltrates the world's ruling council, posing as a noblewoman with impact and wealth. There, she whispers secrets of freedom into the ears of individuals who thought themselves content, and the seeds of revolution begin to sprout. The war for this world is fierce, for the ruling elegants will no longer surrender their strength without a fight. The human and her group locate themselves carrying out guerrilla war, hanging rapidly and vanishing into the shadows earlier than their enemies can reply. They raid Deliver depots, sabotage conversation arrays, and loose captives from their bondage. With each victory, the people of this international develop bolder, more confident in their own energy, until in the end, the day comes when they upward push up en masse and take away their chains. The international, once a byword for oppression, turns into a beacon of hope for the ones nevertheless enslaved elsewhere. Word of the human and her glorious disruption spreads like wildfire throughout the galaxy, inspiring others to take in hands in opposition to tyranny and reclaim their birthright of freedom. And so, the story continues, a story of courage, resilience, and the enduring energy of the human spirit. As the crew of the glorious disruption celebrates their hard-won victory, they're approached with the aid of a haggard-looking guy, his eyes full of a determined desire. He tells them of the international wherein an unscrupulous company has reduced a whole planet to little more than a mine, exploiting its humans and assets without mercy. The human listens carefully, her thoughts already racing with techniques for liberation. She nods thoughtfully, know how the load of responsibility that now rests on her shoulders. The adventure to the brand new international is long and laborious, but the team presses on, pushed by using a fierce determination to convey freedom to those in need. They arrive at the planet, its skies darkened by using the smoke of enterprise and the stench of oppression. The human, ever the master of stealth and subterfuge, infiltrates the corporation's command middle, posing as an excessive ranking officer. There, she discovers an internet of corruption that reaches to the highest echelons of strength. Unwilling to in reality strike a blow and retreat, the human and her group paintings tirelessly to undermine the enterprise from within. They sabotage system, unfold rumors of a coming rebel, and rally the people to their cause. The tide begins to turn because the humans of the planet upward push up against their oppressors, inspired by means of the braveness and backbone of the human and her team. The final war is long and brutal, but ultimately, the human and her glorious disruption emerge victorious. The Enterprise's flagship, once an image of tyranny and oppression, is decreased to a smoldering hulk, its engine screaming and useless as it plunges into the planet's ocean. The people of the sector have found their freedom, dancing and singing inside the streets, their joy infectious. The human, exhausted but successful, looks out over the gang, her coronary heart swelling with pride and a profound feel of reason. For she is aware of that there'll always be extra worlds to free up, extra human beings to keep, and that the paintings of the glorious disruption is a ways from over. But for now, she allows herself a moment of respite, basking within the warm glow of victory and the understanding that, but briefly, she has made a distinction inside the universe. As the celebrations die down and the humans of the planet start the gradual, onerous work of rebuilding their lives anew, the human and her team get hold of phrase of some other international in need of their assist. A lush, verdant planet, as soon as teeming with lifestyles, has been decimated by means of a company-backed struggle. The survivors are desperate, their hopes pinned at the legend of the human and the glorious disruption. With renewed determination, the group sets course for the new international, keen to once more bring freedom and wish to a humans in want. The adventure is long and treacherous, but the team presses on, their spirits buoyed by using the information that they're combating for something some distance more than themselves. They arrive at the planet, its skies choked with smoke and its air thick with the stench of demise. The human, ever the strategist, plots their technique, weighing the risks and calculating the satisfactory course of motion. In the quit, she decides that stealth and subterfuge are the key, infiltrating the enemy's stronghold and dismantling their war machine from inside. The group of the glorious disruption splits into smaller groups, every tasked with a specific goal. Some infiltrate enemy bases, others sabotage key installations, and nonetheless others unfold propaganda the various war-weary troops. Their efforts are met with resistance at each turn, but their dedication is unwavering. They are the champions of freedom, the remaining hope for a global on the brink of annihilation. And as they fight, they cannot assist however experience the burden of duty that incorporates being the glorious disruption, the living embodiment of hope for limitless harmless lives. The human, ever the strategist, coordinates their efforts from the shadows, her keen intellect and unbreakable will guiding them through the treacherous panorama of conflict. She is a beacon of light in the darkness, a symbol of wish for the ones who have misplaced the entirety. Even because the battles rage on, she takes the time to encourage her group, to remind them of why they fight and what is at stake. And as they preserve their reputedly limitless struggle towards tyranny, she is aware of that every victory, irrespective of how small, brings them one step closer to an international where freedom reigns supreme. Days develop into weeks, and weeks into months. The casualties mount, and the group of the glorious disruption is battered and bruised, but they do not want to yield. They push forward, pushed via an experience of reason that burns brighter than any enemy weapon or strategic setback. And as they combat, they start to see glimpses of the sector that could be, a global in which youngsters can play in the parks without fear of being drafted into a senseless battle, in which parents can sleep soundly knowing that their cherished ones are safe, and wherein the air is clean and the skies are clean of smoke and the stench of death. Finally, after what seems like an eternity of war, the tide starts to turn. The enemy's defenses disintegrate under the relentless assault of the glorious Disruption and her brave team. The humans of the planet, stimulated with the aid of their instincts, upward thrust up in opposition to their oppressors, their hearts full of a renewed sense of wish and determination. And because the ultimate stronghold of the company overlords falls, the human and her group emerge from the shadows, their faces etched with the weariness of warfare and the unshakable resolve that has sustained them through the darkest hours. They stand tall, their shoulders returned, their chests thrust ahead, ready to stand whatever demanding situations lie ahead, knowing that they have achieved their obligation, that they've given all they might, and that in the end, it changed into sufficient. The new authorities is fashioned, and the humans of the planet start the long, difficult paintings of rebuilding their global. The human and her team, hailed as heroes, step back into the shadows, their paintings on the battlefield done. They have earned their relaxation, however they recognize that their efforts have best simply all started. As the architects of the brand new society, they have to work tirelessly to ensure that the lessons of the beyond are not forgotten, and that the seeds of tyranny are by no means allowed to take root again.